Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The Green Bay Packers defeat the Los Angeles Rams in the only game that sucked this year, or this week, week 15. This week will go down as an all-timer. I mean, the Minnesota comeback, the Buffalo-Miami snow game, the Dallas-Jacksonville overtime game, the Kansas City-Houston overtime game, the Cincinnati comeback. I mean, the crazy play between New England and the Raiders, the essentially a playoff game, Washington and the Giants on Sunday Night Football. The Jets-Lions game was exciting. There were so many just historic comebacks, huge swings, wild plays, just upsets, almost upsets, big performances, cinematic. Except for the Thursday night game, Seattle-San Francisco was kind of a dud. And the Monday night game, Rams-Packers, that we all just trudged through, also a bit of a dud. The Packers actually winning by 12 makes it the largest win of this week. Pretty crazy. And I don't think anyone was expecting this game to be great. Outside of ESPN and their blind optimism commercials, I don't think anyone was really expecting Baker Mayfield to bring out the same magic he brought to the Raiders. It's really just a drive, and really was like half of a drive because of the penalties. Like, it was fun, but I don't think we're under any illusions that Baker Mayfield is suddenly clicking with the Sean McVay Rams or anything. Maybe in the future. I really do think it would be interesting if the Rams could hold on to Baker, because I don't know what's going on with Matt Stafford. I really don't. Mayfield was 12 for 21, 111 yards. So, yeah, not great. And the Rams, the defense was admirable. Leonard Floyd, a couple big plays. No Aaron Donald tonight. Jalen Ramsey stripped the ball of Aaron Jones when these refs decided to not call forward progress, unlike the ones in the Vikings-Colts game. Whatever. I think the quality or lack thereof of the opponent sort of dampens the mood around the Packers, but they did win. They're 6-8. It was with their running back duo, Aaron Jones, 126 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Dillon, another 60 yards, 2 touchdowns when he did get hurt. This was what the Packers kind of hoped, right? This is December, Lambeau Field, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon are just, keeping drives going, turning things into points. The Packers had hoped that this would be the kind of routine win as they pad out, the path to a number 1 seed, in 2022 here. Instead, it's like 6-8, and they're they're a full game behind the guys who are behind in the wild card. So they're 6-8. Seahawks are 7-7. Lions are 7-7. So they're a long shot for the NFL playoffs. But that doesn't stop that being the headline. NFL.com, CBS, the headlines: Packers keep their playoff hopes alive. A lot of that is for the sake of the large fan base, a lot of readers, a lot of clicks. But if this Packers team, the worst Packers team really since like 2005, maybe that final Mike Sherman year with Brett Favre, if this Packers team somehow figures out how to get into the playoffs and beat the Lions in week 18 and keep the Lions out of the playoffs, all of Detroit will die. And we will all die. No. No, God, no. Michael Scott. But this is just a reminder. This game is a reminder to appreciate good teams in the moment while you're watching it. There's so many people who say, I'm sick of Mahomes, no, don't do it, man, because it goes away so fast. This was the number 1 seed last year, Packers, playing the Super Bowl champion Rams. Not only was nobody excited for this game before, during, or after, nobody even thought this game was going to be exciting like 2 months ago. The teams were playing so bad. That's how fast things turn in the NFL sometimes. Enjoy the good teams and the greatness while you're watching it. That's my parting wisdom to you after that Monday Night Football drudge. All right, Mukilteo Football Show. This shows football everything, NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of a season. Follow us at MUK_football on Twitter or YouTube. Subscribe, share, review on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts. We have shows Monday after Monday Night Football, Thursday after Thursday Night Football, and Sunday after Sunday Night Football. And Week 15 is in the books. Great week of football. Let's talk some winners and losers. Reminder to check out yesterday's Sunday show, in which I gave out the Sunday Best Awards. Who won the award? Who won the Capybara Award? Check out that show to find out. And then there's actually a show right before it, where I reviewed the Saturday triple header. You know, that wonderful day of Vikings having the greatest comeback or largest comeback in NFL history against the Colts, and then the very cinematic big game playoff atmosphere, snow arriving in the final act, Dolphins-Bills game. Man, that game was good. But today we got some winners and losers that we didn't really talk about in either of those podcasts. I want to try to spread the love a little bit. So let's get right to it. Let's get to the Week 15 winners. Well, win probability graphs. The real big popular right now. Big popular. The Colts game that we just talked about, the Patriots game, losing to the Raiders there, between the Keelan Cole touchdown that was maybe stepped on the line and the lateral. I mean, those graphs are all over the place. Jaguars Cowboys was a crazy win percentage game. I mean, the Cowboys had a 17-point lead in that game, and then they blew it. They blew it so bad that then they had to come back to force overtime. It was, and the Buccaneers they had a 17-point lead over the Broncos. They had a win probability in the 90%. I mean, and we talked about Baker Mayfield's Thursday Night Football versus the Raiders on Week 14. Remember Tom Brady's Week 13 comeback against the Saints? When they had the 99.3% win probability for New Orleans and they lost. Vikings over Bills. It's a good time for these win probability graphs. It's just crazy. And I honestly think some of these win probability metrics might need to be calibrated a bit. Like, it reminds me of the NBA mid to early 2010s when the win probabilities just hadn't quite baked in how efficient and aggressive teams are going to be at the 3-point line. It would be like, now that they've built a 10-point lead, their win probability is this. Like, they needed to calculate in that a 10-point lead in the second half of an NBA game means nothing. Nothing. It could go away faster than go away between commercial breaks easily. They had to kind of build that in. They had to adjust their models. And everyone can probably say it with me. Analytics are only as good as the human meatbags who make them, who interpret them, who adjust them. But it is a great time for the NFL because a comeback can happen at any time. I never turn off the playoffs ever, but do not turn your dial from anything because we are seeing some wild stuff. And it's certainly due to the rules and just the way things are favor the passing game now. But this is fun. This is a really fun time. All right, next winner. The Kansas City Chiefs. They win their 7th division title in a row in the AFC West. And we're all desensitized because we're thinking like, well, big deal. The Patriots won 11 in a row from 2009 to 2019 in the AFC East. They actually won 15 out of 16. But winning 7 division titles in a row, they're only the 3rd team to ever do it. The other team, the 73 to 79 Los Angeles Rams, which is a truly tragic team. You don't hear much about the 70s Rams. They had Chuck Knox before he came to Seattle. Ground Chuck running the ball relentlessly, winning the division clearly over the NFC West all through the 70s, but just lost in the playoffs over and over and over again to the Cowboys or the Vikings. It was just kept happening. Fran Tarkenton or Roger Staubach would knock out the Rams every year. And then finally, in that final year where the Rams just holding on to their success, they get to the Super Bowl and they meet the team of the 70s, the Terry Bradshaw, Mean Joe Green, Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're the ones who, they're only there for the final fourth Super Bowl for the Steelers. And that's it. The Rams, they're just not remembered. But they did win 7 division titles in a row, and no other team has, except for the Patriots, and now the Andy Reid 2016 to 2022 Kansas City Chiefs. It's pretty cool. And this is certainly Pat Mahomes gets a lot of credit here, but he's only there for 5. This is an Andy Reid thing. They won 2 division titles before Pat Mahomes was regularly starting. There's a world where Andy Reid just, goes away after his 14-year decade of success with the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2000s. But he didn't. He came back, Big Red, with the Chiefs. He's had such a run. 26 more wins, and he'll have more coaching wins as a Chief than he did as an Eagle. That's incredible. Andy Reid has put together 2 great tenures. Looking forward to see it continue, my man. All right, next winner. Bears? I put Bears with a question mark because I think the Bears are winners. They put up a fight against the Eagles. They lost the game, but almost solely with Justin Fields, and who almost had one of the plays of the year, maybe the decade, with this crazy run. It would have been a legendary touchdown run worthy of the same type of replay as Steve Young versus the Vikings, that rumbling, bumbling, stumbling run that he did. Fields he was so smooth, and he passed up so many guys, just barely stepped out of bounds. Still a great run, but not the touchdown run that it looked like at first. Yes, they lost to the Eagles, but they kind of want to lose, right? Because that's good for draft position, I guess. But Fields has clearly shown himself to be what the Bears had hoped he would be when they traded up into the 10th pick, 11th pick, 12th pick? I can't remember what it was in 2021 there. He is it. And they're also losing games to help their draft position. I don't know. It felt like Justin Fields was better than Jalen Hurts in that one game, at least. Just watching that one game, I came away, Justin Fields is better. I know that's not true on the season on the whole, but I say question mark Bears because is draft position really that important? I mean, is it really that important that you get Aiden Hutchinson and not, somebody else who was drafted later? Like, is it really that important? Like, the Jets just lost the Lions. They got Sauce Gardner. Didn't save them. Didn't do anything. Is it really that big a deal to have a high draft position compared to what you could have had? Bears fans, I don't know. Are they winners? This is a prime year from a sophomore quarterback, Justin Fields. They had an elite roster for so many years. All they needed was a quarterback. Now all they have is a quarterback. That's a miss. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty negative tone for a winner. Bears should be happy. They got Justin Fields. It's going well. All right, let's get to the losers. The Tom Brady magic meter broke down. You thought it was coming into action, that old thing. The Buccaneers had a 17-0 lead on the team which we had all agreed had ascended into one of the NFL's elite, the Cincinnati Bengals. We were all ready to praise the Bucs. They're finally using some play action, getting some pep in their step, some motion, and the magic meter just ran out. They were up 17-0. The Bengals just woke up and just won the game handily. And then the Buccaneers turned back into what they've been all year, which is terrible on offense and defense. It was just weird. Maybe the magic meter was spent on earlier on making sure the Saints beat the Falcons and the Steelers beat the Panthers, because despite losing again and falling to 6-8, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are still a full game ahead in the NFC South and positioned to host a playoff game. They would be 4-10 if not for two of the most improbable comebacks of all time. The one against the Rams, the one against the Saints. It's incredible. It seems like we're pretty obviously headed for a 7-10 Tom Brady Buccaneers in the playoffs. And if you listen to Kirk and I's show predicting the rest of the 2022 NFL season, we believe those Buccaneers in Florida will host the 5-seed Cowboys and win. All right, next loser. Well, us, the fans, the viewers, we got the excitement. We spent our excitement on this Jaguars, creeping up on the Tennessee Titans, this crazy AFC South comeback story that's happening here. And we got this overtime pick six. It was a Dak Prescott throws the ball in overtime. It's a good throw, gets tipped up. Jaguars player gets it, returns it for a touchdown. Dramatic way to win the overtime. Like, yeah, we spent our money in that moment just having so much fun. But we should have invested it. We should have just had Dallas win so that we could have Dallas and Philadelphia in an epic battle this Christmas Eve. But we didn't. And I don't know why I'm insinuating that like we all had anything to do with this, but that's what would have happened. Dallas losing that game is kind of a bummer because, now this Eagles-Cowboys game doesn't really even mean much. It's like Jalen Hurts is hurt. He's likely not going to play. Probably would have played if the game meant anything, but the Eagles are pretty much locked into the 1 seed now after beating the Bears. The Cowboys are locked in the 5 seed, essentially, after losing to the Jaguars. So it's all kind of out of touch. Dallas played well, but they gave up that big stuff to Trevor Lawrence, another big Trevor Lawrence quarter, which is the type of thing that'll tantalize us all offseason for the Jaguars. I guess loser, us, for not getting that just majestic. Could you imagine if it was the 13-1 Eagles versus the 11-3 Cowboys on Christmas Eve? Would have been something spectacular. Dang you, Jaguars. Even though we're all rooting for you. All right, last loser. Sack records. There were a number of sack milestones met in these games this week that I just couldn't help but feel bad about. I always feel bad about the sack records. Like Myles Garrett, he got 2 back-to-back sacks and became the Browns' all-time sack leader. And I was thinking, wow, that's awesome. What a historic franchise. No, it's Myles Garrett, all-time sack leader since 1982. Screw the 50s, screw the 60s, screw the 70s. It's like, going by some unofficial stuff that you can get there, seems like Myles Garrett is still like only 6 sacks away from being the Browns' all-time sack leader. But still, it kind of sucks, doesn't it? It only goes back to 1982. And TJ Watt, Steelers, he got a fastest to 75 sacks or third fastest to 75 sacks graphic. And you think about like, wow, this guy's crushing it. Well, that doesn't count Deacon Jones, Alan Page. They give 0 sacks. Mean Joe Green has 0 sacks because the record started in 1982. Lawrence Taylor, he has 9.5 sacks less than he should have because he played in his rookie season in 1981, and those sacks don't count. It's just, I don't know. It always feels wrong to me. You can go to Pro Football Reference. You can look through an unofficial tally that they did back to 1960, which I like. It just, there's always something just a little off to me about that fact because 1982 is not a great demarcation point. Like, we still talk about Jim Brown. We still talk about Johnny Unitas. We still talk about Fran Tarkenton, Kenny Stabler, Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw. Yet the guys who sacked them, their stats don't count. It's not a good line. 1982. All right. We'll see you probably Friday. See you on. Good night.